Hi guys, wanted to create a quick little video highlighting Yasuo Legend in the game Riftbound, which I've been playing a lot of since it actually came out over a month ago. I've been enjoying Yasuo the most. I did try a bunch of the other legends, and I do own a bunch of the other cards, but this is probably the legend that stuck with me the most as being the most fun and the most kind of elegant and most interesting to play. You have a lot of different things and options you can do with Yasuo, and his ability is basically accelerate whatever you want for 2 mana, for 2 runes, essentially, which is just bonkers crazy in my opinion. If played correctly, it can be really, really good. So Yasuo, even though he's, not an A or S tier deck by any means, he might be closer to a C or D tier deck. It's not played that often, so you can very often catch your opponents by surprise because they just are not sure what you can kind of whip out of this deck at any moment, which is very, very fun, very interesting to me at least. I was able to win quite a lot at my local games tournaments with Yasuo. Not this deck particularly, but still, it was, winning against Kaisas, against Dazzling Auroras, winning against mid-range Yis, against Teemos is quite a feat for Yasuo, and I was able to pull a lot of that off. So this is my latest iteration of the Yasuo deck. We're obviously running the green Yasuo as our chosen champion. The purple guy is nice, and I like him to a degree, but I actually do like him a lot, but he's just a little greedy, and in a 1v1, he just might be a lot worse off than the green guy here. So the green guy is actually one of the main cards in this deck, even though we are running just one of them. The point of the deck is for you to kind of protect your units as much as you can, but also kind of have a lot of flexibility and a lot of means to slice and dice your opponent and get out of very sticky situations. That being said, this deck does like having tempo. It's not one of those decks that can swing back out of an unwinnable situation. So if you kind of focus on tempo with this deck, you're probably gonna be fine. So you need to focus on spending all of your runes every turn if your opponent is slow. If they're not slow, you always want to keep 1 to 2 runes up during their turn as a means of protection and as a means of using your reactionary spells to counter them. So let's get on with the deck. So we have 3 on guards, very much a staple card, right? We don't need to get into the details of why this is good. It's just great. It's an amazing card. We have 3 copies of Discipline, right? So gives you draw 1, gives you +2 might for just 2 mana, no power cost, which is amazing. 3 stack deck, obviously. This card is just bonkers good. It's not just good in a Yasuo deck that has Nocturne, and this deck does have Nocturnes. It's good in any purple deck, period. So this card is just amazing. You need to auto-include it in every purple deck. So then we have staple, 3 defies, no questions asked. We all know why this card is good. It's just bonkers crazy. So these are, kind of the mainstay staples of any Yasuo, or maybe even any purple or green decks. So then we get into the interesting bits, right? So we have 2 masks of Foresight. It's a gear, 2 runes, and it's basically a slimmed down version of Master Yi's passive legend ability. And for 2 runes, I'll take it any day. I think it's very, very good. And seeing that in this deck, you will not have a lot of units up at any moment. You will have 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky. And even in those circumstances, if you have one of these guys up, one of these gears up, you're going to be able to utilize both of them on both battlefields that you're trying to kind of conquer. We have 3 traveling merchants. Not all Yasuos run this guy, but I believe that he's going to be very good because there are cards that you don't need multiple copies of that you can safely discard and use it as an engine for this card, right? So, for example, if we are running 3 copies of, Find Your Center, it's a great ramp style card for Yasuo. But you're probably, if you see 2 of them in hand, you're probably not gonna have to use both of them anytime soon. So draw engine, right? Or if you have 2 Masks of Foresight, you may not need to play both of them out. You can always discard one of them. Then yeah, so that's kind of the point of why we have the Traveling Merchant. Ride the Wind, staple in Yasuo, gives crazy movement speed, gives you crazy flexibility, not just on your Yasuo, but also on some of your bigger units, which we're going to cover very, very soon. Then this is a surprise take. I think this card is amazing as a one-off in this deck. So it says, it's called Reinforce. It says, look at the top 5 cards of your main deck. You may play a unit. Among them, its energy cost is reduced by 5. Then recycle the remaining cards. So I'm only running 1 copy of this for now because most of the units in the deck are not that cheap and you're rarely actually going to be able to utilize the discount fully. However, what you can do is find your Nocturnes using this. Very, very easily find your Nocturnes, not just with that, but also with the stack decks here, obviously. So then we have 2 Zhonyas. Zonya's a good card, but I believe 3 is too much, so that's why we're using only 2. In my games with Yasuo in the past month, I've noticed that more often than not, I'm using a Zonya to save a 3 rune unit, which I don't want to do, but it just happens more often than I would like. So that's why I kind of cut one of the Zonyas out of the deck in favor of something else. Then we have 3 Mystic Poros. I don't like this card particularly, but I think at this point in time, there's no better choice for a 2-drop in purple or green for this kind of deck scenario. This is probably your safest choice, especially if you're going first. This guy helps for you to just stay on curve, give you a vision, maybe pull your Nocturne, maybe not, but who knows. Still, it's not that great, but it's probably the best thing you can put in this deck at 2 mana to just have some consistency there, right? Then we have 2 Wielders of Water, absolutely bonkers card. I really want to bump this up to 3, maybe cut something else out, but I believe 2 is a good number thus far. So then we get into some of our more powerful units in the deck. We're gonna have to excuse this proxy Nocturne. I did order my 3rd one and it should arrive very, very soon. So Nocturne is obviously one of the main guys in this deck. That's why we want to run 3, not 2, because it's very obvious what this deck is trying to do with the Mystic Poros, with stack deck, and obviously with surprise Reinforce to kind of get your enemies starting to read this card 3 times because they probably have never seen it before. So then what else? We have 3 Razas. You're gonna probably go through a lot of cards during your games. You have a lot of cheap spells, a lot of cheap gear, right? And you're probably gonna fill your trash up quite a bit, even by like turn 3 or 4. Your trash is probably gonna be like 5+ cards in there, maybe even more. And by turn 5 or 4 or 5, you're gonna be able to get this guy down to like 2 or 3 runes, which is insane. So that's why I want 3 of these guys. So 2 runes for 6 might is just bonkers crazy, right? And obviously if you draw this guy in your starting hand, you can always kind of utilize that as the draw engine for Traveling Merchant, right? Then we have 2 Canes. Kane is just absolutely bonkers with Ride the Wind. You can get really out of control if your opponent doesn't deal with it once you summon it to your base. If they are not able to deal with it and just leave it up and you have a right wind, it's going to be a tough situation for them in any scenario of the game, right? So then we have the Tasty Faithful. I like running this guy because he's giving you, he can be a very great defensive option for you to hold a battlefield and then move out of that battlefield with something else and just leave the Tasteful there. And, you know, preferably have a tie soon so that you can get that sweet, sweet death knell out of him. Sometimes you can accelerate to him, but 80% of the times I just play him as is, as a defensive kind of tool. If you absolutely need to play him offensively, you obviously can, which is very good. It just, that means it's giving you flexibility that you obviously do want in a Yasuo deck. So that's essentially the whole list. That's what we have. And now probably the most important bit here. Runes wise, we are going just 6 and 6. The spread is quite even. So 6 and 6 runes, right? Green and purple. Gonna move those to the side and we're gonna go quickly through the battlefields and which battlefields you want going first, second, third, and then the side deck, which is also super, super important. So vis-a-vis battlefields, we have Candlelit Sanctum, we have Dreaming Tree, and we have Back Alley Bar. We have Candlelit Sanctum, and this is probably the battlefield you want to do first because it's probably the strongest one that you can have. So when you conquer here, look at the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may recycle one or both of them. Put those you don't back in any order. So this card kind of helps you find your Nocturnes more easily, and I believe that this should be, well, it's either this one or this one that you can do as your first pick. It doesn't really matter. I think both of them are good, very, very good. And then you have, you know, the Dreaming Tree, obviously, the first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here each turn, draw 1. You have a lot of stuff that targets units in this deck, especially specifically your own units. And I've had games where this battlefield produced like 5 draws just on its own in that one game. So this is a very good battlefield for this particular deck as well. Then we have Back Alley Bar. This is kind of your, you know, reserve battlefield option for your second or third game. If you believe you're going against maybe a mid-range deck or something like that, or a slower deck, this can be a very, very nice option to add in because you do have a lot of movement built into this deck, specifically not just with Ride the Wind, but also with your legend. So this might be a very, very, very cool addition to surprise some people because I don't think I'm seeing this battlefield being played almost anywhere. So there you go. That's the battlefields. We can move on. So there's just my pile of everything here. We're gonna go to the side deck, which is probably the most important piece of this deck. Absolutely. So let's go through it. So there are some things that you can change that I'm considering doing as well to my side deck, but here's the side deck for now. So we have 2 charms, we have 2 rebukes, we have 2 wind walls, we have 2 acceptable losses. Quickly explain, this one's good against maybe a mid-range Master Yi. This might be good to swap in and out of your deck. Might be actually very, very good potentially because you're basically paying 2 energy and 2 power to get a creature back to your opponent's hand that they were ramping towards for 3 turns in a row, and you just deny them that big creature with just 2 energy and 2 power, which is absolutely bonkers if you're going up against a tall deck specifically. This card is specifically in the side deck just against Kai'Sa, nothing else. So Kai'Sa likes to use Time Warp, she likes to use Icathian Rain, she likes to use Falling Star. This is just, you just put 2 of these into your deck when you're playing Kai'Sa by default and you're gonna be okay. Charm, Also, very, very nice little option to have if you're playing, well, if you're playing maybe a mirror match against a deck that really wants to protect their creatures just like we are. This is a great option because it gives you, like, for one energy and one power, you can remove something that's very, very important for your opponent. So this is a card that I like to use in scenarios where I'm seeing that the opponent doesn't have a lot of minions and they have like a mid-range master. You might also you might benefit from using this card against a mid-range mastery as well, but not specifically. I would say maybe against a Teemo, maybe against a Set, or maybe against I don't even know what else is out there, but those two might be good decks to have this up against, right? Then we have acceptable losses. Very, very self-explanatory. This is just against Dazzling Aurora decks. So a lot of people like to use the Adaptatron, which is the 4 energy unit with 3 might that says, when I conquer, you may destroy a gear, something like that. So that guy is a lot better than this card in the sense of you get to choose what gear you destroy, right? And that guy cannot be countered, but it's much harder to pull off a conquer with that guy in this deck. So that's why I kind of diverted back to acceptable losses. I believe this one is very cheap, very good, and if you're playing against a Misfortune or Volibear Aurora deck, they more often than not will not have a way to deal with this at all. If you're playing against a Master Yi Dazzling Aurora deck, this can get defied, but Master Yi Dazzling is not that good and not a lot of people play that. So that's why I like to have 2 copies of this in my side deck. Maybe you can swap one of them out for an Adaptatron and just, have that variety for your deck in the future. But in my experience, the Adaptatron is very hard to pull off, and I really hate using him. I was able to pull him off a few times, but not that often. So yeah, so that's essentially the deck, and I'm hopefully gonna get that Nocturne very soon. So I hope I helped somebody start liking Yasuo a little bit, because I really enjoy playing him a lot, and I hope that you guys will too. So yeah, there you go. Hope you have a lot of fun. Leave a few comments up if you have them. Positive, negative feedback, I don't care. So there you go. Bye.